Okay, let's get started. I hope everyone on the line can hear us. So, welcome everybody to this webinar where we'll be discussing the Quuppa Q35 Locator and our latest software release 7. My name is Jesse or Jesse. I'm the marketing manager here at Quuppa and I'll be hosting this webinar today. Just a few meeting practicalities before we get started. If you do have any questions at all throughout the webinar, there is a questions tab in the GoToWebinar control panel where you can ask questions, and we will see how many of those we can get through at the end. So the agenda for today's webinar, we'll give a brief introduction, followed by the Q35 feature overview, some more information about Generation Q hardware, as well as the latest features available in software release 7, the resources and documentation that's available and where to find everything. And then finally, at the end, we'll have a Q&A. The webinar is due to last around 30 minutes of content, and then we'll try and save around 15 minutes at the end for any Q&A. So with that said, let's get started. Some of you may have attended our virtual event last year, where our Chief Customer Officer and co-founder Fabio Belloni described what the world would look like in 10 years, and the concept of the context making the content relevant. So we're building this future where the use of location is seamlessly integrated into our essential services used all over the world every day. We see a clear pathway from today's connected world of IoT devices, which are already sharing a whole host of data points with each other, into a location-enabled world where, by adding the context of location, we'll make the content of the data more relevant. We want to achieve this by bringing the context or the use of location to as many environments as possible, scalably. I appreciate there might be some people on the line who are new to Quuppa, so just to give a brief overview, Quuppa is a horizontal technology provider enabling location-based services and applications across a variety of industry verticals through our platform, the Quuppa Intelligent Locating System. So today's focus is on those more challenging spaces where accurate location and the use of RTLS can be a little bit more difficult. So we're talking about harsh manufacturing environments where it's hot, humid, metallic, and heavy machinery, warehousing and logistics spaces where we may see extremely high ceilings or inventory racks, sports arenas and outdoor environments which would require weather resistance, so for example ports, harbors, the mining industry, or spaces in between buildings, so for example outdoor walkways or multi-story car parks. So we've brought to market a new product, the Quuppa Q35 Locator, to address these difficulties of tracking in these very challenging environments. So we'll go through a few of the key features of the Q35 Locator. So we're able to actually track more objects than ever before. The Q35 has a high data throughput and overall hardware improvements. We're able to achieve a sub-meter accuracy from a longer range. So the Q35 has an optimized omnidirectional antenna array, allowing for better coverage in all directions, as well as benefiting from angular resolution down to a fraction of a degree, ultimately meaning that it provides a more accurate dot on the map. The Q35 now also makes it easier to install and deploy a Quuppa system. It's compatible with a VESA 200 mounting bracket, but please do note that the product is not supplied with a mounting bracket, and this allows you to pick the VESA mount that best suits your deployment. If you do have any questions regarding the mounting bracket, then please do get in touch with us. The Q35 also includes a LED indicator light on the exterior of the casing, which allows you to immediately assess the status of the locator during deployment, and also includes cover markings to aid in the alignment of the locator during its installation. We've also dramatically reduced the weight of the hardware, now down to just over 1 kilo, which makes larger scale deployments, for example, with hundreds of locators, considerably easier. We don't generally like to compare our previous products to the new ones, but I think in this case it's a real improvement considering its predecessor locator, the Quuppa LD7L, weighed around 4 kilos. So operation in any environment, we're talking about indoor, outdoor, and anything in between. The Quuppa Q35 locator holds an IP66 classification, which allows it to be used in outdoor environments without compromising the structural integrity of the device. It also includes more sophisticated radio filtering characteristics, which enable the device to coexist with new mobile LTE networks. We've also included a functional implementation in the form of an extraction valve, which allows for sustainable performance in extreme conditions. For example, where rapid changes in temperature may affect the internal mechanics of the device. It's durable against heavy impact, as well as having endured considerable salt water testing to ensure its durability in salt-laden environments, as well as intense UV exposure. It also has a more operational temperature range from -20 degrees to +60, so anything from freezing snow to scorching desert environments. So the Q35 ultimately is an extremely durable device for any environment. And finally, a system built to last. So the Q35 has undergone extensive environmental testing to ensure it performs as expected for years to come. You also have the ability to move the locator between new and existing projects to give you more flexibility within your deployments. The hardware also includes a dual radio, which we've seen before in the Q17 indoor locator, but this will enable support for future features from our roadmap, for example, the potential for wireless connectivity and over-the-air firmware upgrades. The Q35 is also supported by a software release 7 or newer, again, supporting future software features. So please do remember to upgrade your software when taking the Q35 locator into use. So let's take a little look at the hardware itself. Here we can see both sides of the locator, and I think we can all agree that this is definitely a step in the right direction with regard to the design of the actual product, and it fits well with the rest of the Generation Q hardware product offering. Again, here on the right, you can see the VESA 200 mounting bracket as well as the LED indicator lights. On the rear side, we can see a separate power input for a standard micro USB port, as well as another port for connectivity, which now supports full duplex 100 megabyte Ethernet with low power consumption, and it does also support power over Ethernet. And lastly, we've got that extraction valve there, which helps with that sustainable performance, as well as the dual radio to enable some advanced features in the future. So there we have it, finally, a Generation Q hardware product offering, which consists of our QT11 tags, the Q17 indoor locator, and the Q35 all range locator. I've also included here a locator comparison for our Generation Q locators. Now, I won't go into too much detail on all of these points, but maybe just bring up a few of the key ones. So, for example, the IP classification, if you're going to be using these locators in outdoor environments, then it's definitely the Q35 that you want to go for. Again, if you're even if it's under a sheltered area, the operational temperature range, it goes down to -20, so it can really go work better in those colder environments. One thing to note, and the difference between the Q17 and the Q35, is that the Q17 is supported by software version 6.0 or anything newer. However, the Q35, as it's a new product, you will require software version 7 or newer. Again, with the mounting bracket, the Q35 does support the VESA 200 mounting standard. However, we are able to provide some kind of compatible mounting brackets if it's required. But as said previously, this kind of allows for you guys to choose your own mounting. One thing from maybe a more commercial side for those who are on the line is the shipping efficiency benefits. And obviously, we're trying to think about everything, not just the locator itself, but the packaging that it comes in. So compared to the previous generation locator, the LD7L, we only used to be able to fit 20 on a pallet, whereas due to the reduction in the size and the packaging itself, we can actually fit 90 per pallet now. So that's a considerable improvement in shipping efficiency, especially when ordering larger amounts of locators. We have a number of resources and documentation available for you to take advantage of, both across our website as well as our online documentation section, where you'll be able to find more useful information regarding the Q35 locator, such as product specifications, mounting instructions, installation and safety guides. So if you do want to find out more information, please visit quuppa.com/documentation. So moving on from the hardware side to the software side, we're really excited to present to you some of the updates within our latest release, which we are calling SW7 or Software Release 7. So let's have a look at some of the contents of the latest release. Of course, we have the support for the Q35 locator, which we just discussed now, but we also have a new API, which consists of some new features, including the concept of master location, the location movement status, and a new markup language. We'll be talking a little bit more about the QPE in a box initiative to help with dimensioning hardware capacity, as well as some updates to our QPE web console and some comments on enhanced performance. So with that said, let's get into it. We've previously spoken about the concept of, that we like to call the 3 Ps of location, being presence, proximity, and positioning. We've actually written an article around this subject, and I'd highly recommend everyone to go and read that article if you haven't already done so, as it's a great piece which highlights the needs for different levels of location. But in a nutshell, different use cases have different requirements for the level of accuracy and call for different types of system architectures. The Quuppa system can scale together with your business now, for example, by adapting your existing projects from a proximity level accuracy to now a more positioning level of accuracy. So in the context of the Quuppa system, we've introduced something called master location. Ultimately now, the location is provided by the QPE and is built from these 3 different types of components. So we have the position, we have the proximity, and we have the presence. So again, up till now, we've really been in the business of trying to provide the absolute best position of any track, tag, or asset. If there's anything which affects this kind of high accuracy positioning, such as reflections, then we wouldn't necessarily give coordinates of that location. But now things have changed. The QPE will now display a piece of information which we call location type. So this can consist of either position, proximity, or presence. Now the QPE will basically give you the best estimate of where that tag may be, even if we don't know its exact location. Taking the example of this proximity location, so let's say, for an example, that our environment is such that there are a lot of metallic objects causing reflections, and this affects the accuracy of the locator reading the tag, i.e. the same tag is being picked up by multiple locators or in multiple locations. As we can't tell the exact location of the tag, the QPE will now deduce the location of that specific tag based on its RSSI value or power output. Then, based on this information, the QPE will identify the closest locator and draw a radius around that specific locator to indicate that the object is near enough around that specific location. So you won't know exactly where it is, but you'll have a pretty good idea. If something then changes from within that environment enough to warrant the accurate location, then it will default to providing the best location type possible. So in this case, it will revert back to position. This is the same for the presence detection. So it's almost like a light level of tracking, essentially just wanting to know if an asset is within a specific area or not. So I wanted to give you guys a small example. of these three types of location within the same or within a single project. Please note before I do show this that this is just a representative example of a deployment, and it's by no means to scale, and it's more just a visual aid to help you understand the differences. So here we have a manufacturing floor which requires sub-meter accuracy and real-time positioning. And connected to the building, we have a warehouse which only requires a proximity level of accuracy. So we know that there is an asset in the warehouse and we know roughly where it might be within that area. And finally, we have, for example, the front office where employees will conduct their day-to-day tasks. So within that manufacturing floor, we have a high density deployment where tracking of business critical assets is enabled, as well as, for example, collision avoidance between forklift trucks, and also enables, let's say, navigation for automated guided vehicles or AGVs. After the assets have been finished on the production line, they're ready to be sent to their customers. So they move from the manufacturing floor into the warehouse, where this ex-company employ an inventory management system to help with their stock taking, but they're also looking at optimizing their business processes. So in this case, it's a large warehouse where they are saving time by not having to look aimlessly for the assets. They already have an approximation of where that asset might be within that warehouse environment. And still using the same system, they have presence detection within their office area, so they can determine which of their employees are in the facility. So this can help others know if certain employees are present that day or at work. And also, in case of an emergency or a facility evacuation, they have the ability to check if there are employees still in the building. So this is just a representative example of these different location types within that same scenario. Moving on to the location movement status. So we've introduced, again, a new feature within our API that can determine whether a tag is moving, stationary, or hidden. So the moving part is easy, and it's kind of what we're best known for here at Quuppa. And it's great for objects that are moving very often, but it's not always great when objects stop moving. So for that, we've introduced the stationary tag status. Essentially, what this means is that if a tag stops moving for a predefined amount of time, the tag then returns to a default state and will not move from this position until the accelerometer within the tag is triggered again. This is a very useful feature, especially in high accuracy tracking areas where the tags may jitter as the QPE is constantly listening for the position of the tag, potentially causing movement even if the tag is not moving itself. And finally, we have the hidden movement status. So this means that the QPE will not show the location of a specified tag, tag group or zone group. So you can now manually hide the tags from, hide the location for a custom selection of tags. This again is a great feature which especially helps with privacy concerns, as users can now set custom areas where the tags are not to be tracked. So a couple of examples in retail, where you have dressing rooms or fitting rooms, or alternately in office environments where you may have restrooms where you don't want to track whether employees are using the toilets. So additionally, we've also included a new markup language, which is now more human readable and no longer a random combination of numbers, letters, and characters. So for the developers on the line who develop these custom applications, we're making it easier and more efficient to develop the front-end solutions. So here's an example quickly. Within our API, these are currently what the markup language looks like. From my perspective, I have no idea what this says. So we've moved from this to something a little bit more human readable. So even me in marketing, I can tell that through this string, we can see that we're going to generate a tag ID, a name, the color, the group as examples. So we also have some new fields available in the API for location type, location movement status, and location radius. So the location type So the location type would be either positioning or proximity or presence, or alternatively it can give no location also. The movement status is moving, hidden, or stationary. And then again, like we were talking about with the radius of the proximity, you will actually receive also now a radius, which will be displayed within the QBE. So in order to ensure more successful deployments from our partners and customers, we've started an initiative called QPE in a Box to help kind of ensure that the deployments that you have are more successful than they have been before. Naturally, as your business scales, you're deploying larger scale projects, you'll need to ensure that your hardware actually meets the requirements for running that deployment. So now in the Quuppa System Simulator, you can see the recommended hardware that will be required to run in order to support your deployment. So we're talking about the minimum required CPU and recommended minimum memory. You can also see the list of tiers and hardware specifications in our online documentation at quuppa.com/documentation. Within our QPE web console, we've made some changes that you can check out if you've already upgraded to the latest version of the software release 7. We've predominantly improved the output section where users can now have more control over their output targets, enabling them to list, create, and have more control on the outputs. Additionally, it is a new version of our web console. So if you do require, for any reason, the older version of the web console, you can find it in the top right-hand corner listed in blue text. And finally, it wouldn't really be a software release without a little performance enhancement. So at Quuppa, we're always making a variety of these under the hood improvements to our algorithm, our software, our API, to provide customers with the best possible experience and best possible product at the end of the day. So that's that robust and reliable dot on the map. We've also updated all our documentation to help give you as much information as possible with the new software release. We've updated the Quuppa Site Planner user manual for the new API, as well as providing all the documentation for the API in Customer Portal. To further give our users better understanding of the features and functionalities available within our software, we'll be releasing a new version of our QBoost initiative. So for those of you who are on the line who are not yet familiar with QBoost, it's an initiative that we've introduced last year to provide video tutorials of specific features and functionalities alongside real examples of how to use them and how to use the features within, how to use the features while you're planning your deployments. The next release of the QBoost will be at the end of February and will include some things like how to use the Q35 in Quuppa Site Planner, API data formats and output targets, some further clarifications on the changes that we've made to the web console, as well as generating proximity and presence in Quuppa System Simulator. So we finished a little bit early today, but that's okay. We do have some questions on the line already. Everybody that has already registered for the webinar itself, will send out some post-care information over the next couple of days. So the recording of the webinar, as well as the slides, will be made available. If you do have any questions in the meanwhile, anything related to marketing, feel free to send us an email at marketing@quuppa.com. Anything related to sales, if you already have a contact, please do speak to your sales representative, or alternatively email us at sales@quuppa.com. And finally, if you do need any more information, feel free to visit our website or send us an email at info@quuppa.com. Again, if you do have any questions at this moment, we've got a few on the line which we'll get through now, but feel free to use the questions tab in the GoToWebinar platform and we'll try and get through them. Also joining me on the line here, I have Suvi Erlund, who is the product manager of our hardware products. So we've got a few questions to ask for Suvi, and we also have Ville Norra, who is our creative director and responsible for everything to do with software. So, hi both.
Hi. Hello.
All right, so I've got a question about the Q35 here. What certifications does Q35 have? Suvi, if you wanted to take that one.
Okay, so currently Q35 has certifications for CE, FCC, and IC, so that's in Europe, US, and Canada. And also we have the UL for the Q35. We are working on certifications in Japan, Russia, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and Brazil during this year.
Okay, perfect. That kind of answers one of the other questions that was on the line as well, asking about ATEX certification.
That we will not have directly with Q35. That is not in the current plan at the moment.
Okay.
We can discuss that maybe specifically if you contact us for that.
Yeah, no problem. Another one here. Can I order Q35 and what are the delivery times?
Yes, small quantities are available now, so Q35 can be ordered now. We have just launched it last week. And for larger amounts, please discuss your Quuppa sales contact and also our operations team. So it will be very important to know your forecast and if you can already estimate what kind of demands you will have.
Okay, sure. Ville, I have one here for you. How do we take the new API into use, and is there anything we should consider when taking it into use?
So you mean like with existing systems,
Yeah.
Probably meaning that, okay, is there a way to like convert the old APIs to the new ones? So I would say that no, there is no like such feature that you just like with the press of a button you convert the old formats to new ones. The reason being that the new one has so like new functionalities that were not existing in the old ones. So practically, I would say that look at the new API and you basically have to write the API requests.
Okay.
Software. Yeah.
Fantastic. We have another one here. Is there a trial package similarly to what was done with Q17? We don't currently have a trial package or like a promotion package available at the moment. However, if you are looking at purchasing a small quantity of the Q35 Locator, then please do contact your sales representative. All right, they're coming in thick and fast now. This one. Do you have something in the midterm to transmit poor bandwidth from QPE to QDA, like over LoRa? Ville.
We don't have currently any like plans of using LoRa in that QPE to QDA. No, I don't really.
These questions that we have online are a little bit more technical. So if we don't get to your technical question, we can see who's asked it on here. So we will get back to you if we can't answer it in the webinar itself here. Bear with me 2 secs. So I've got another question here. The proximity of the tags, are the attributes displayed in the QPE map on the left side with the RSSI and nearest locator ID?
Yes, so we have updated the web console map also to use so all of our the web console is using the new API. So yes, that data is available there. And there are a couple of tricks, like if you're using the simulator, for example, and you want to kind of like simulate the proximity and presence detection data. So there are a couple of tricks that we may come back later. How is that?
Okay, perfect. There's another one here. Can you describe the change made on the QSP software, and especially if there are changes that can break all projects made under software 6? So as mentioned, we're going to be releasing this QBoost video tutorials, which will give a little bit more information about the specifically about the API and the differences with it with software 6 and software 7. So please do keep an eye out for the QBoost, which will be released at the end of this month.
Yeah, maybe one comment on that so the software 7, so you can open projects done with the earlier versions of the software. However, the new API formats that are created with the software 7, so those are not compatible with the software 6, so the earlier version, so they're not backwards compatible in that way. But Quuppa Site Planner 7.0, it will still support the legacy API formats. So yeah, those are still there existing. So.
Okay, I've got another one here for Suvi about the Q35. Any specific data on the range of the locator?
Okay, yes, so Q35 is considered like it is all range locator. So if you are familiar with the predecessor LD7L, which was a long range locator, so Q35 has pretty similar long range capability, but also it works well in the near range, so it is all range. So the range is something that is not it will not stop at 300 meters, for example, but that's what we say in average is the communication range. But we could maybe talk about this even longer if needed. Webinar about the range.
I have another one here. Does the Q35 calculate the location within the locators or within a computer? I assume.
Yeah. So essentially the locators, they are receivers and antennas that are receiving the data or the radio packets that are transmitted by the tags, but the locators itself, they don't calculate the position, and but the positioning is done in the Quuppa positioning engine, which is running in the server, and we are using like multiple measurements from multiple locators typically to get the high accuracy and reliable location.
Okay. We've had quite a few questions here on the price and the pricing ranges between Q17 and Q35. So if you do have any questions regarding pricing, if you're already a Quuppa customer or partner, like I said, please do contact your sales representative and they'll be able to give you some more information on the pricing. Or if you haven't actually taken Quuppa into use yet, or you're not one of our customers, then please do get in touch with us either through the contact form on the website, or you can send us an email there and we can give you a little bit more information. Bear with me 2 secs. I'm just having a look at some of these other questions. I've got one here. What's the latest BLE standard you are using, and what is the maximal pickup distance?
Okay, yeah. So I guess Suvi already answered to the pickup or the range, the pickup distance. What comes to the standard, so Quuppa has been developing, we have our own proprietary technology, which is, so we, as you may know, that we have been doing this for 8 years already. So before nobody was even talking about angle of arrival, angle of departure part. So in that sense, we are not based on any like Bluetooth standard, even though of course we are following it very closely, how the 5.1 standard, for example, introduced this direction finding concept. And we were actually very much involved in also like developing that standard. But as such, we are not, you can't really say that we are based on any standard. Maybe the other way around, the standard is based on Quuppa's technology.
Yeah. Okay. Is it possible to identify direction with a single Q35 locator?
Yes, it is possible to identify. Of course, with multiple locators, you get more robust results, because with a single locator you can identify the direction, but you can't really verify whether that direction is right or wrong.
Yeah. So ultimately, you probably need 2 locators as a minimum to get
that verification for it. Yeah.
More accurate.
More accurate and more robust, I would say.
Because there are radio reflections and
Yeah,
things
exactly.
like that affect how the locator sees the position.
Okay, great. Let's have a look what else we've got.
Yeah, we could take the position accuracy compared with 7L.
Yeah, so yeah, the question here, please can you tell us more about the position accuracy compared with the 7L, the previous generation?
So I don't think there are like dramatic changes in the position accuracy itself. So
yeah, so in the near range it is better for Q35. In the long range it is pretty much similar, little bit better.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, on our online documentation at quuppa.com/documentation, you can find all the product descriptions and product specifications in there. So please feel free to go to that link if required. We have some questions related to data quantity and data transfer. As said previously, we can see who's asked the questions, so we will go through and make sure that nobody gets missed off on these ones. So we will answer those separately. If using the Q35 outdoors, for example, with snow, how can or how should it be positioned?
How high?
Sorry, yeah, how high should it be positioned? Well, I guess it depends on the sport, really.
Yeah, it depends on the sport. Of course, obviously, like the higher you can get it, the bigger area it can cover. That's one thing. But outdoors for sports, how high?
So some of the installations are over 20 meters high at least.
Yeah.
What we are testing.
Yeah, typical installation places are like light poles and such, where it can be like exactly like 20 meters easily.
Yeah, and like I said, we do have also the mounting instructions available on our online documentation, so please do feel free to go and have a look at those. But yes, of course, the locator can either be mounted in the ceiling itself or at a tilted angle to give you the best
coverage.
Yeah,
area.
the best coverage available.
Yeah.
Will there be a feature to detect presence of other BLE devices with no Quuppa packets, like consumer products? I assume this means like consumer devices.
Yes, I would say so. So already currently we have like whitelisted some of the products that are the problem here is that if we would allow all the BLE traffic going through, there would be no room for Quuppa package anymore, because the amount of the BLE traffic is so huge. So currently we have like whitelisted a couple of devices, like for example Polar heart rate belt, so that data goes through the Quuppa system and can be used. We do have plans to allow the users themselves like determine which devices may be like which data can be put through. And more like mobile phones, of course, they can be tracked if that is one of the, so like, but then those should be sending those that Quuppa specified packet, essentially like in emulating the Quuppa tags.
Okay. I've got another one here. Have you ever tested impact durability on your tags? And if so, how much can they endure? So I assume this is asking about QT11 tags. Do we have like impact?
Yes,
testing?
we have done impact testing, and we can be in contact with the person who has.
Yeah, no problem. We can send you a separate mail with some more detailed information about the testing of our products, and in this case specifically the tags.
For Q35, I think we have listed in our online documentation also the environmental tests and impact testing, what we have done.
Yeah.
And those are standards.
Okay, I've got another one here. Can you let us know a little bit more about the functionality of the extraction valve on the Q35 itself?
I think it kind of helps to what's the word in English, to with the pressure.
Yeah, it balances the pressure basically,
yeah.
Inside and outside the locator. So yeah, that's the function. And well, now this time of the year in Finland, for example, if you have like outdoor installations, and in the nighttime it can be -20, and in the daytime the temperature, if it's in direct sunlight, it can be even like +10, so that the temperature difference can be quite significant, and that causes the air pressure to change. So the extraction valve is to balance that pressure so that the mechanics don't get stressed
Or breaking.
yeah.
Okay, all right. We're almost out of time now. Just one more minute to go. If we haven't answered your question online, no fear. We will get back to everybody that's asked the questions, and we will, again, like I said, make sure that all these this entire webinar and all the slides will be sent in a post-care email within the next couple of days, or let's say by the end of the week. So with that said, I'd just like to thank everyone for attending this webinar today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday afternoon. Thank you very much.